This whole thing of how HDR and SDR relate to each other, I think, is one of the biggest challenges of particularly this transition time. Eventually we're going to get to a point where HDR is what there is, certainly in terms of processing. And we'll still have varieties of different displays, but HDR is going to be where it's at. In the meantime, it's still like we're in that transition between 4:3 and 16:9, where you're going, okay, well, yeah, this is great, widescreen, 16:9, lovely, but what's everyone watching at home? And there was a few years there where everyone was still watching 4:3. And then it got to this tipping point where you couldn't buy a 4:3 TV anymore, and suddenly it wasn't that relevant. While we're in that transition, how the HDR and SDR relate to each other is one of the biggest issues, one of the biggest challenges of how we manage that process, just like it was with widescreen. And there's big differences of opinion on this, and I think there's valid arguments for each of them. So like Dolby recommend you do your HDR grade first, and then from that you will get the best possible SDR deliverables, and you do the trims for those and you get the best, squeeze the best out of that format. There's also the opposite view of people going, well, cinema is still the one that we care about most. So most filmmakers, most directors and producers and cinematographers are going, okay, we care about what's going to be shown at the premiere, what's going to be shown at the Cannes Film Festival, and what's going to be shown to the critics. So let's focus on that, and then the HDR is an afterthought to that. There's also the point of view of actually going from SDR and then doing, if you've got the time and resources, doing an HDR grade means you start off with this limited palette and then you expand that out into this wild, exciting world of HDR. That can be quite good creatively. Starting off with this amazing HDR palette and then squashing that down to SDR can be quite disheartening.